It's Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook, and I am so excited. I got the stud here, Mike Stud, the rapper. I told him when he came in here, I go, man, you have my dream job. I wanted to be the first great white rapper, and I did, man. I studied everybody. Sugar Hill Gang on vinyl. I still have it. First album I still know almost every word.
Love it.
Kids make me rap all the time.
Go ahead.
One thing about rapping is like comedians to me is that literally you have to be hyper intelligent.
Yeah.
You know, Eminem, one of my favorite rappers, and I love his lyrics, but there is like the intonation, the timing, and then the content itself.
Right.
You played baseball in college at Duke.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, you were probably a fairly good student, if not a good student.
I was. I would say I was definitely. I kind of. It translates. I competed. I felt like it was part of the competition. I knew I needed it. I knew it was part of my path, and I knew it was an avenue to get to where I wanted to get. I mean, they don't necessarily coincide. Being being a great baseball player and being an athlete, but I saw it as a student athlete. I was kind of raised on that, but I realized that it enabled. I knew I wanted to be like I don't share that same dream. I was pretty tunnel vision towards being a baseball player, being a pitcher, but the student side of it was kind of, it went hand in hand for me personally.
So for you, did it go hand in hand because you wanted it, or like for me, it went hand in hand because my mom guilted me into it, right? I was a student athlete because number one, she didn't believe I was an athlete, and two, the fetus wasn't fully developed till after graduate school,
right?
And anything but Ivy Leagues counted as colleges,
right?
Like literally, I went to Occidental College because they gave me a scholarship, and I got to play football and baseball there because it's Division III.
Oh, there you go.
Not many schools wanted me to play football for some odd reason.
Right.
But like literally, she considered it a junior college, I think. And I go, you know, President Obama went there, Jim Moore went there, Jack Kemp.
Sounds like a tough cookie.
Well, everyone else went to Harvard, Penn, Columbia, and were summa cum laude. So I am literally the low end of the academic gene pool.
Well, look how it panned out.
Exactly.
You did all right.
I almost as well as if I would have been a rapper.
Yeah, this is not how we drew it up.
No, but if I get good enough at this, I may come up with my first rap song and have you produce it for me.
I'm the guy for it.
And I could be the first like middle-aged, maybe I'll name myself the middle-aged mutant turtle or something like that. And I'll come up with a really good
category. Let's invent it.
Exactly. Well, I did with Gary, man. I'm like, dude, you think you're old? Wait till I get out there. Help me out, man.
You and Gary could be.
I'm the oldest man on Instagram. Like, it actually has a following, I think.
No way. There's way worse.
Yeah, way worse. That's it. I love him. That's why they call him Mike Stud.
It's way worse.
All right, so. But you have no like music interest when you're growing. Rhode Island, first of all, so it's like a small.
It isn't necessarily the mecca of hip hop or baseball
or baseball, right?
Yeah, you know, it honestly, I can't say that it was anything pushed on me by my parents. I've kind of looked back in hindsight and realized that I was kind of good at understanding flow, even though I didn't understand the concept yet. You know, consciously, but I kind of let feelings and intuition flow to me, and I was always following it, and I didn't really realize that until I looked back in hindsight. And baseball, you know, is one of those things. I was naturally gifted. I was one of those like bigger kids. I didn't even play. I skipped Little League. Like when I was 10, I moved to the big field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know because I was so small. So they kept me on the little field.
Yeah, I was like a bigger kid. I threw hard, and it's Rhode Island, so you know,
threw really hard for Rhode Island.
Yeah, and so I skipped ahead. And
how fast did you throw?
I mean, back then it's all relative.
Yeah,
I mean, we're pitching on a 45 foot mound versus 60, but I was throwing hard. I don't even know at that.
What about the 60? How hard were you throwing in college?
I mean, I was low to mid 90s, but my standout thing was I had a great slider, like a pro ready slider.
Yeah.
And
one of my favorite clients, Gene Tennis, and friend and family friend, he's the MVP of the World Series for the A's in '72. Played with Reggie Jackson, all those guys.
Wow.
Anyway, he named his dog. He was a catcher. He named his dog Slider.
There you go.
Because he said, "I'll never hit a slider."
It's a tough pitch to hit.
I can't touch it.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, I had a good one always. So it was. To be clear, though, I wasn't this like, as much as that was the case in Rhode Island, I wasn't this highly touted national treasure. By the time high school and then came to college, it wasn't like, hey man, this kid Mike Cien, that's my actual name.
Yeah.
This isn't. It was one of those things where I was looking at Harvard. I wanted to go to Harvard, Ivy League level. In the Ivy League, I probably could have played baseball and basketball. So I
that's cool.
went to Princeton, and I would take like instead of just going for one night and visiting the baseball team, I'd baseball and then basketball the next night. And I was kind of interested in that. I always, for whatever reason, I didn't have a passion for
education. But no athletic scholarships at Princeton.
Yeah, no.
They wanted me to play 155-pound football. Do you know what that is?
No.
Yeah, they have an actual league in the Ivy Leagues for 155-pound and under.
Are you
and
kidding
they wanted
me?
me to play fullback. I weighed 147.
You would have been good.
Yeah. And baseball, by the way, there. But
yeah.
literally no money where Occidental had a full leadership academic scholarship for me.
Yeah, and basically like right towards the end of the process, I started throwing harder.
Yeah.
So then the bigger schools started coming. Like Duke was probably in the middle of that pack, but there was like the UNCs and
what about draft?
SEC
Were you interested
schools.
at all?
I knew I would have been, if I had, like, I probably would have went in the mid 20, 30 round, but I was ready to go to school. And I knew, I just had friends that were already doing it. And I know, like, there's kind of the public mirage of getting drafted in baseball. That's when the work starts.
Yeah, of course.
It really is a huge, more than anyone.
Yeah.
It's a journey. And
I wouldn't turn down
I was not
Duke.
ready then.
I don't know how good I was. I wouldn't turn down Duke.
I knew I had so much development ahead of me.
Yeah.
I was a late developer. As much
even though
as
you're big.
Yeah, like I was a big body, but I was like kind of had a baby face, kind of like this. I probably weigh the same now, but I had like a different, there's a lot of development. But
you're baby Huey when you were young.
Yeah, exactly. Both mentally and physically though. Like it wasn't really even a thought like that I was ready to go do that.
And as much as we go play college sports, no matter what level it is, everyone has in the back of their mind a continuation dream.
Mm-hmm.
And once you reach college, I always say everybody has two desks, and the desks get worth the longer you play. So, my business partner, Warren Moon, quit playing at 44. And I said, people don't realize the death that he had to suffer.
Oh, yeah.
Playing that long. You played a long time just in college, but, when you injured yourself, had Tommy John surgery, a certain part of you died.
Totally.
How did that feel?
I have this date tattooed on my wrist because I remember thinking it was the worst day of my life. And it turned out to be the best day.
There you go.
And that's shaped my whole perspective. Just the idea that like you can make plans and you can have goals, but it's kind of silly if you really think about it. If you can really wrap your head around the concept of just how uncertain everything is.
So let's get to that for a second, because that's really cool. Because I tell people all the time, if you want to make God laugh, come up with a well-developed plan.
Exactly.
But then people are like, Dave, you got to have goals. You got to.
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile, having a vision or a goal, but allowing yourself to move from that goal, or to maneuver? I say, like, not limit your point of entry, but like
Pivot.
I have very long-term goals, but I'm not tied to them.
Yeah.
But I'm pursuing them.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you reconcile that? Because it sounds like you have the same philosophy.
Yeah, it's the law of detachment. I've become a huge fan of this book, The 7 Laws of Spiritual Success.
It kind
of was like life-changing for me. So it's like I read all these other books, but I always go back to it. And just understanding that you can't be attached to the results. The only thing I'm attached to is trying to be better every day.
The pursuit.
So I've really slowed my goals down. I used to, I still write down my future goals and things I want. But I really slowed it down to a daily thing. If I could wake up and do things, and there's a balance, because come from the athlete background, you're like, compete, go do the things you need to do.
The law of Goya.
Right.
Get off.
But there's also like the balance of living a balanced life, and the
Do you meditate?
The law, yeah. The law of least effort, which is like allowing things to flow to you. So I toe that line, but I definitely have tried to slow it down and just say, what are the things I want to do today? What's my overall goal? My intentions are to wake up and create and make the best content I can. And that ranges across, many categories. It's not just music for me.
Right.
But to answer your question, it's really, when I go to bed at night, if I took steps forward, and that comes in many different forms. It could be, I built relationships today. I built on my mental stability today. You know, I've grown to open my scope at what productivity is. But I know if I'm taking steps in the taking steps forward, that I'm making myself proud. It's easy for me to fall asleep at night, and it's easy for me to get up in the morning and try to do it again. You know?
So you've been super successful throughout the entire process, whether it was academic, sports, music, podcasting, all the things, content-wise that you're doing. What inhibits or interferes with or creates a corrosion between the connection that inspires you, right? I believe we both do, right? That we're in the flow, right? Which is this giving and receiving. It's the law of Goya, the law of attraction, and the law of surrender or allowance. Well, you know, you're a lot younger than I am. We were joking that when I went to college, you weren't born, but I have a hard time helping people understand, like, what is it for me? Because everybody idolizes what you do. They romanticize it.
Right.
But what is it that causes the interference in your life now where you sit there at the end of the day and like, man, I wish I didn't make the progress or the productivity or accessibility that I wanted from the day. Yeah. What are some of the things, or at least one, that causes the most interference or resistance in your life?
I would say I've become very clear that, like, having any form of an ego is extremely negative.
Well, you're gonna have egos when you're in it, right? Ego-based consciousness,
right? And I'm coming from a very egomaniacal space, being a rapper.
Yeah.
You know, like, even just being an artist. You know, like, things revolving around you, people waiting on you to, you know what I mean? Like, people getting so excited when they see you. That's probably my biggest challenge. I don't consider it interference though. And I would say,
well, I mean, frequency wise. So when I say interference, I'm talking it interferes with my true frequency, my potential, my highest frequency.
So I'm answering it correctly then.
So yeah, you got it.
And I'll have moments still when I just feel myself, or I think in hindsight, in a conversation I had, that I was signaling something, or I was kind of saying more than that needed to be said to build, you know, to overpresent myself, or not even necessarily overpresent, but just things that don't need to be said. I catch myself in hindsight, like, you know, that's coming from a place of ego.
Right,
like,
overselling back at somebody. Yeah.
I shouldn't even care to even have them know that. Let them discover that on their own time or whatever, you know? So that's probably my biggest thing. And I really am enjoying trying to hack down my ego. You know, not that I was over egocentric, but just overall, I'm talking even internally, and how I'm digesting things that are happening. It's not, you know, it's a lot bigger than me and my scope. And I've learned that more recently, honestly. That's been my biggest thing.
Yeah, I believe the ego-based consciousness creates that interference, corrosion, or the interesting thing, I just went through this in New York. You know, we landed in this great office space. You know, things are really growing and doing well. And I end up going out with my partners. And I have a saying, right? 1 martini is not enough and 2 is too many. So 3 or 4 was a lot for me. But I used to party all the time. We were talking about me and Jordan Belfort. And, you know, I want you to be on his podcast in the Wolf's Den.
We got here. I want to talk about this.
Yeah, he's cool. So I'm 51 years old. I'm blessed. I mean, you see my family, right? Beyond my business and everything. That's super important. And I'm really healthy now at 51. But I used to party a lot when I was young. And so here I had a few too many drinks and I load up my days. I would say I still do at least 8 days of productivity in a day. I don't work. I have activity. I get paid for activity. I don't. I learn to love everything I do. That's my philosophy. So I can get 56 days of productivity in a week. So I'm doing 2 months, 3 months of work compared to the average person. And because I'm not more intelligent, I outwork them long, hard, and smart. But it was interesting because I loaded up the second day. In fact, I was on Gary's show, you know, my boy right there. And I was so disappointed in myself because it wasn't that I did it, right? It was that I was so less productive and connected.
After being hungover.
That I was hungover that next day. And not that many guys knew until I told them because I'm still productive, right? A functioning damaged person I am. But like, I've been so connected without partying for so long that what made me most sad was there probably was a decade of my life that I thought, oh yeah, I'm handling all this stuff. I'm successful and I'm doing stuff that's completely diminishing my energy and capacity. And it was a huge lesson for me that I'm like, I was disappointed. Not that I did it the one day. It was like, I did it for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I could have done some serious stuff
Preaching
with my
to the
life.
choir.
And I'm going to still, just so you know, I'm still going to party every once in a while. And I'm okay diminishing my capacity for one day. I'll do better planning the next day because this one was impromptu.
Right.
But I'm okay, not for 10 years every day,
Right.
but once or twice a year for me to have a really good time and feel what it's like to be 30 again.
That's once a week for me.
Yeah, that's okay though.
Yeah.
Compared to what I was doing.
Right.
Do you still feel, or are you even, because I wasn't cognizant at all. You seem so much more enlightened and you're an old soul. You're a lot farther along than I was. Do you feel that way when you're partying now once a week?
To be honest, man, it's I was actually planning on bringing this. I wanted to get your insight on this because it's, for me personally, like, it's not even close to something that I'm ready to cut out because I'll tell you why. It's coming from a space where it truly is a creative unlock for me. Now, if I was an entrepreneur, I am an entrepreneur, but I'm saying if I were working on a more rigid schedule, the more common schedule of I'm up at 9.
Yeah.
I got this here.
I was up at 7 a.m. on Barstool Sports on
That's
Eastern
early.
time.
That's my
So
guy.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I was on Large and Willie, man. It was awesome. The breakfast.
Did you meet Press while you were there?
I have met him. I didn't meet him this trip, but yeah.
He's a great dude. I've known those guys forever.
I think I was still drunk when I was on their show, so the hangover didn't happen until 11.
I hope you told those guys. That just
Yeah, they were loving
with
it.
those.
Yeah, those guys are awesome.
But like genuinely, it's a creative unlock because I write all my music. No one writes for me. I make everything myself. So a huge facet of it is experience. Now, if I were to wake up every day at 8 and take all my meetings and emails and meditate and do everything perfectly, right? One, I don't have shit to do. Like I'm in the studio like 10 to 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
But those experiences, like that's what I was talking about, like looking at things differently, productivity. I genuinely look at like, there's nights where I go out and some crazy shit happens, right? And literally 4 days later, there's a song. Or like if you were to think back, like if you were to check back in a month, there's been so many pieces of content that have been generated from those experiences.
Can I go out with you one night? I'll take you through.
I'll
be your shaman. I'll be your shaman.
I need you.
I'll be a party shaman. Maybe this will be a new executive business coaching for me. Party shaman, where I can
Your
walk you
family's gonna hate
through.
me.
Oh no, we'll just do it one night, just one night training, not excessive.
Yeah.
I can't do weekly trainings like I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could be a one night shaman for you.
I'd love that.
It has to include Jaeger because I think it has a total hallucinogenic behavior to it that allows, it's like microdosing alcohol.
You're talking to a micro. I'm a micro.
I only do it where it's legal now.
Right.
So I'll go to Amsterdam or Colorado or other places, but I'm a huge
Can't say
fan
the
of
same.
expanding. That's okay. I won't either. I've been there in the past, but literally I got kids, so I got to make sure we follow the rules.
Totally.
Anyway,
Feel you. Set the standard.
people ask me, catalytically, what are some of the most expansive things that changed my life?
Mhm.
Doing mushrooms in law school changed my life.
Changed mine.
It changed my life. And, I was in law school back then, et cetera. But I just have to tell you that I am all for people in control of certain things. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of opiates. You're right. I'd go with no aspirin before I take an opiate if I got hurt. But literally there's certain things. I mean, look at marijuana now where it's legal. They told me for years it's bad.
Perspective.
You're right. And I mean, I'm looking at the businesses of CBD and marijuana. Like these guys came in today and there's like investment bankers in my office.
Yeah.
And,
That's huge.
and they're listing through all the stuff that it does for you. And literally, why it was illegal, by the way? It's because of Hearst. People know that, right? Because he was the paper mogul.
Right.
And hemp would have killed the paper business for him. So he
Right.
made it illegal.
I saw.
And then all his rich friends,
an
right?
excerpt out on that.
Yeah.
It really is crazy. It's the prohibition all over again.
Yeah.
For marijuana, but it's really the difference is there's actually a huge beneficial side where alcohol. The prohibition of alcohol is just like, this is a good time. You're gonna get fucked up. Everyone,
Right.
makes us that crazy. We love it, But this is like, there's actually tons of benefit. I mean, you're talking to somebody. It's really changed my life. A lot of people look at me from the outside, and you probably just taking a nutshell look at things. You're like, oh, this guy drinks and parties a lot. Not really. I mean,
Right.
I probably drink an alcoholic beverage 2 out of 7 days a week, which like I'm not casual like, yo, give me a whiskey at dinner.
Right.
Like,
You're not
it's
drinking
my
every
thing,
day. Yeah.
But I'll smoke weed every day.
Yeah.
Not when I've segmented it to as the sun comes down, the artist side of me, kind of comes out, and that's where I start to. But I'll be in full blown meetings. Like I could be high here talking to you and having maybe even seeing it. I look at it like this. There's another. This kind of continues on the point of what you asked about partying. Genuinely, I think it's case by case. Everyone has their own set of abilities, their skill sets, and it translates to this.
Animal biochemistry, right? Like
Exactly.
for me, marijuana knocks me out.
Exactly.
And I'm not in the flow.
Exactly.
Right. I like things to pick me up. So I'll drink tequila and Jaeger because it's upper.
Yeah.
And I used to do other things that would raise my blood pressure. But literally, here's an interesting thing what nobody gets about me is in some respects, I am a rapper because if anyone's watched
I could tell you
me they channel me on a stage or like that call I did with Sprint Business.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the flow.
Exactly.
Like I literally was channeling. I have no idea what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And although nothing was rhyming or had a great beat to it, there was a flow to it and a rhythm to it.
Right.
And the ideas were just going. And in fact, one of my guys, my COO, is watching me because we're having a conversation and I'm half listening. And then they ask a question and I just started to flow.
Mm-hmm.
I call it downloading.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
That's exactly
channeling,
what it
I'm
feels
channeling everything.
Yeah.
And he looks at me like, and she was super duper impressed with me. I ended up getting a speaking gig from it.
There you go.
And I literally could not repeat a word that I said.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God they have recording now for you.
Right.
Because I guarantee you're downloading, flowing, you're channeling shit. And if it wasn't recorded, you could never repeat it again.
I think we have to do, I'm going to make some content to show my creative process because it's been life-changing. I got connected with an artist, Post Malone, a big artist.
Yeah, no problem.
And he's going to be a big part of our going forward. But we kind of, I wouldn't even credit him or the producer or me for the process itself, but I call it the portal. Like I'm not even there. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Everything I do, everything. So the
stud portal. Can I call you the stud portal?
Yeah. We put the music on. We put the music's on, and I don't really write any lyrics down at all. I freestyle everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I was talking about experience is so important. What is my subconscious? What's in my subconscious? What have I fed it for it to come out like this and be cool? You know what I mean? I have to have those experiences.
I know we're going over and they're going to kill me, but I got to ask this question. Sorry. Yeah. So I get your subconscious. You know that I talk about unconscious competency.
Yeah.
Right. Personality, genetics, etc.
I'm a fan, man.
So do you feel that ever that like this was just born in you?
Yes.
Like even, yeah.
Yes, totally.
I could see that.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm also in the business. I'm really like, I had a hardship, like a relationship hardship over, I'd say about a year ago, where it really pushed me down. Like I kind of like was able to take a step back and be like, all right, who am I? Like a lot of this really, like the baseball thing, I wasn't thinking, as I was a baseball player, I was very much in that bubble. The music thing immediately happened, accidentally.
Right.
So I didn't even have time to
coincidentally, it's a mathematical equation, right?
Right. Exactly. I totally believe that. But what I'm saying is there was no intention for it.
No, of course not. You weren't dreaming of it.
So I wasn't able to I didn't really ever step back and be like, digest, and like I was just rocking and rolling. Which city's next? Which tour? Which, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I got right into the relationship, a very like public relationship with a high profile girl. So what I'm saying is after that relationship, like it was humbling. It was
Jose's daughter, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jose. Yeah. And it was great. There was nothing. It
Right.
was just more so my first time going through that, and I kind of felt like I was like, all right, what's important to me now? Like I got to get my feet on the ground. Exactly. Like I hadn't really had time to digest,
Yeah. Can you right now, like how long does it take you to connect? Like if I asked you, give me a playbook rhyme real quick to end up the show, is that something you can connect and do?
Oh yeah.
Can you?
For sure. Right
can we
now?
end there? Yeah.
Want me to give you playbook?
Yeah. Give me some of the playbook, Dave Meltzer, something.
Dave Meltzer.
Maybe it might be used again, just to warn you, I might use this beyond this show.
Okay,
if it's really
cool.
good, you might be my commercial.
All right.
We got Mike Stud here with Entrepreneurs the Playbook, talking about Dave Meltzer. We just had one of the best interviews. It's one of the longest ones that I've done.
I like
the TV's going to hate me, but that's all right. We'll edit it.
I like it. All right. So last night I was white girl drunk off seltzer. Now I'm sitting here talking life with Dave Meltzer. Straight out of the playbook, got the whole game shook. Either way, I'm on a wave. I'm going to invite Dave to the ranch and catch a wave. Let's do this.
All right.
I need you. The ranch is our house where you're going to come party.
Yes, I am. The shaman.
But I need
Party shaman's coming.
Next time you're in LA, I'm going to, what's your assistant's name? Or
Jake.
Jake.
Yeah.
I talked to Jake. I was like, I need him over to play some beer pong.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. Like we'll play either
I'm
ping
on
pong
it.
or beer pong, and then we'll talk life again too. Thank you,
You're the man. We got
Appreciate
Dave
you.
Meltzer with Mike Stud. That's all I really need to say with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.